welcome. Glad everyone could come. I hope you're going to enjoy this video. Today we're going to talk about my grimoire, give you a little walkthrough, show you what it's all about. I actually have 4 grimoires, so this is going to be part 1 of 4 in the series. It might be 3 because there's one that's I'm really not going to go through. I'll just show you. But this grimoire is what I call my working grimoire. This is the grimoire that I use to get information, collect information, to write rituals, to write spells. I put my prayers and my chants in there, and this is why I call it a working grimoire. It has all the basic information about the craft and why we do things. So it's a quick, easy reference. I do have other grimoires that have more detailed information or additional information that I may not be using at this time. But this is information I'm using. It is not complete by any means. You can see it is rather small for grimoire. That's because I have just divided this up into 3 other books because it was full. So about the grimoire itself, it is a 3-ring binder that I've repurposed. This binder was used for something else. It was thrown away. I claimed it because it functioned correctly, but the cover was, it was used. It showed sign of a well-loved folder. So I cleaned it up. I actually put a new cover on it. This is kind of like a papier-mâché type application. What you're seeing is actually layers and layers and layers of tissue paper with Mod Podge on it. And I've done it so it stays crinkly, like it looks like old leather. Underneath it, I have some wooden symbols. I created the Wiccan moon symbol here, and we have a nice star on the top. As you can see, I've used this book. This book's about 4 years old, so it's seen a lot of use. I use this book on a daily basis. So it does a little cracking here, but this can be fixed with another application, papier-mâché, and some touch-up paint. That's one reason I like this. No, it's not durable like a leather-bound one or a pretty, one you get on eBay. But I didn't want to spend a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money, but I want the information. I also think it's important to be able to move pages around. I know you can use the post, but the post you have to take whole sections out and put them back in. Here we're just talking about moving 1 page at a time. I think it's better for my use. Oops, I just moved you all around there, guys. Let's see, on the back of the grimoire, I have another star, same as the front, and I guess you can still see this leather kind of look it has. I eventually want to put another layer of paint on this to give it more of a leather look. I'm not happy with the color it turned out. I was going for something a little more bronzy and copper, and it turned out this kind of weird brown, but it could be fixed. Like I said, when I fix this, I'll just fix this top and make it more coppery. On the inside, I just used some scrapbooking paper here. This one is a nice violet color, purple. It has some gold stars. The stars are sparkly. I don't know if you can see that, but they are very sparkly. So it's a little fun. Purple is color of intuition, so I think it's appropriate. But you can see, I just put this in here. Some adhesive spray. It works quite well. Looks nice. It has a rather nice finish on the edge. So it just makes sense. Like I said, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on it, but I wanted something that I made, but also was very practical. And so I think I found the happy medium. Everything on here is items I either had or cost very little. So the first page here is, this is my title page. This has been recently redone. When I first did this book back in 2012, 13, somewhere around there, the title page was very reminiscent of the charm books. Really not me. This is much more of my style, and it reflects me a little bit better. This is a print that I got off the internet. I copied, recolored, put it on my parchment, and I've actually glued this over my old title page so as to not waste paper. I also made it nice and stiff, give it that kind of crinkly old look. I kind of like it. I can go back in with coloring pencils if I decide to color it. I don't think I will. I think I'll just leave it like this. I kind of like this. Next page over here is my book blessing. This is written in all to Theban with a seal, protective seal here. And basically this is more of a blessing, create energy for the book, to give it intent, and just kind of make sure nothing harmful comes from it. It's more about not allowing harmful energies into the book, or energies that I am not inviting myself. This book isn't finished, like I said, so there's some random stuff just in here. This is a nice coloring page of a phoenix. I'm going to color this and do something with it. I haven't decided what. So in here I also have an article in here. It says, does a witch have to practice witchcraft? This was not something that I wrote. This was written by Christopher Penzak. I liked it. I liked the information. I printed it off, put it in here. It's not on parchment because it's not my original work, and I need to, rework it or whatever. But I do give him credit in here. Ancient art. This talks about cause and effect, and what it means to, it talks more about what witchcraft is about and its principles. We have the Witch's Pyramid, which most of you will be familiar with. To know, to dare, to will, to be silent, and to go. So, here it is. Long version of the Wiccan Reed. 13 Principles of a Witch. These all resonate with me very well. Witch's Creed. Very nice as well. And then I have a little thing here. This is my work. The picture isn't, but the words are, and it's what is a witch, and this is how I defined a witch and what it means to me to be a witch and the work that's involved and the responsibilities. Nice little picture of a witch. And then this page is, this one right here, is what it means to be a high priestess. I believe that a witch and a high priestess are they are the same but different. You could be a witch and a high priestess, but you cannot be a high priestess, not be a witch. So, kind of fun. But it just kind of explains my idea, my definition of what a high priestess is. Next page is the Diamond of Divinity. This is a concept that I learned from Penzak. This kind of shows how I think of the divine. I believe everything is of one, and then it's in multiple facets or aspects, however you want to view it. And this is the one, and these are all the aspects around it, and that's what this represents in my book. And the next couple pages talks about different kinds of religion in aspect to witches, and how they are played and what makes them all different. Any pagan can be any aspect of any of one of these religious sects. So a little bit of that. We got a little Da Vinci going on here. And then we have the pentagram of divinity. This shows the divine aspect in relation to the pentacle. And then we have the divine cycles of life for the goddess and the god. We have a real quick chart of archetypes for the gods and goddesses and their affiliated pantheons. Not all these are filled in because there's not always a god for that archetype. So this is, like I said, real quick, real easy. This is in here. I can look up something for ritual, know who I may or may not want to call by that chart. And again, you're going to see a lot of blank pages. There's a ton more of information I would put in here. I just haven't got to it. I'm doing a little bit at a time, trying not to overdo it. So the next one is the triple goddess, and this is all about the triple goddess and what she represents and her aspects. And then we talk about the maiden and all kinds of information about the maiden. And then we have the charge of the maiden. And we have some more information about the maiden. And then we have the mother and information about the mother. And you'll notice this is more of a reference book. Got some blank pages because I'm not done. That's a whole nother section I need to put in here for mother. And then we have the charge of the goddess. It's how I relate to the mother figure. And of course, more blank spaces for more information. We've got the crone. Information about the crone. And then we have the charge of the dark crone. Charge of the crone. The dark goddess. Very dark picture of her, the little raven. Let's see what else we got here. And this is another little blurb. This is some information I've got that I want to take apart, put in my own words, and put in a section here. So we'll pass it. And then we have information about the god. All kinds of his information. Lots of information on the god. I think he's misunderstood sometimes. So I want to make sure that there's some understanding. And there's the charge of the god. And then here we have the creation story, as this is Scott Cunningham's version of it. And then I have my version of the creation story, how I see it. And then I have these dividers. These were also thrown away. They're repurposed, reused. They're nice heavy plastic ones. I think they're great for this application. You'll see them in various forms throughout the book. And then we have a section for the ancestors. These would be, the mighty dead, ancestors, those who we honor. Not necessarily gods and goddesses, but more of the mighty dead. People in my family have passed away. This is a section that is brand new to my Book of Shadows, so it's still very much work in process. But I have a couple poems here for my ancestors I really like. My Love is Like a Red, Red Rose by Robert Burns, and Think of Me by Andrew Grubersek. I probably messed that name up, but anyway, those are really nice poems about our ancestors. And it talks about the importance of history and why there are the sections in here. And then here we discuss who are the ancestors and how to honor our ancestors. And then I have a list of the most 110 of the most prominent individuals who were executed for practicing witchcraft of some sort. So this isn't just at the Salem trials, but this is all over the world. This is Germany, Dutch, French, American Indian, Scottish, Danish, all over the world. Witches have been prosecuted and executed for practicing witchcraft. So I didn't feel it was appropriate just to list the ones from the Salem trials, because I want to make sure that whoever gets this book understands that it's a worldwide problem and it's still going on. But this is the top 110 witches who were executed. All right. These pages include who, when, what their lineage is, and for what crime and how they were executed. I'll also have another section on here of beloved individuals in my life who have passed away. So not necessarily a family tree, but people who have significant importance in my life. I'm also going to be adding their names to that section as well. The divider. This one's for the elements. This is something I just printed off the internet. It looked kind of old, kind of cool. My little dragon. Of course, I didn't draw this, but I did print it in black and white, and then I've colored it in to make it my own. A little humor here. Old periodic table with the elements I've drawn down here. Then we have the elemental pentacle. This is out of a coloring book that you can purchase. So I took that, colored it, thought that would make a great introduction sheet. Nice basic one. And then we talk about spirit and how as an element. And we talk about water. And you can see sometimes when I've glued stuff on the back of this, it's made the paper look all crinkly and old. That's not tea staining. This is parchment, and it's just an effect with the glue. Element of water. Then we have element of fire. So I've got a lot of my own work, and then some items I've taken off the internet. Kind of relate. I've got some gaps in here because there's more things that will be added eventually. And this is air. And then we go to another section, and this section is going to be about our moon phases. And I'm doing not only the full noon and quarters, but I'm also going to do the crescents as well. So there'll be 8 different moons in here we'll talk about. And then I've started putting in the monthly moons. So here's January, all the information about January, what it's called, things you can do to honor it as well. I will go ahead and have the rest of the months in here as well as the blue moon. And then we have the wheel of the year. Again, this is just out of the coloring book. I haven't colored it yet, but I throw it in here. This is a nice, easy version of it, very simplistic. But this is the one I've actually drawn for myself to use for ritual work. So in there we have number correspondences, directions, we have life cycles, we have season cycles, we have time of day, we have the constellations, the zodiac, we have the elements that are related to it, and then we have dates and times, and then we also have the holidays, and we also have the phases of the moon. So this is something I did draw myself, colored it in. It also has color correspondence for each of the sections of the year too as well. And this is just printed on a piece of paper that has some matte print on the back of it. This is just pasted on top of it. I'm really happy with this. The only thing that's on here are the musical values for the correspondence, and it's something I might add at a later time. And so then we go into holidays, and I start my book at Samhain because that is Witch's New Year. I don't do it the typical way. I think Samhain should be the start of the year for me. It makes sense to me. We all start with death and birth. So this is where I go. So we start that and have some information. This is going to have all the correspondences. It's going to have some basic ideas of what to prepare, what kind of foods, decorations, games, drinks. They might have some recipes in here. Anything that would pertain to the Samhain holiday as it is. And we have some more information. Some information used for ritual. And then we go to Yule. We have all the Yule information. That includes the same thing. And I'll continue to add to these sections in bulk. The same idea. And as you can see, I've written these at different times. They have different fonts. It's fine. I don't care. As long as it looks nice. And that's all that really counts. And then we have Ostara. And the only thing I have in here right now is about the eggs. I found a great article about Russian eggs. I really liked it. So I added it in here. I think it pertained quite well. And then pertain, and as you can see, I don't have anything in here for that yet. And then Litha, and then we have some information that I need to put on parchment. And then we have Nesha, Log Day, Lammas, whatever you want to call it. It should probably be called Lammas. It's what I call it. It has information about that. As you can see, some of it is, more recipes, just general celebration information. Let's get this. Okay. Avon. Again, here's my information. It's on my paper. Probably at the time I printed this out, I didn't have any more parchment, so I'll have to get that transferred. And then my next section is visualization or meditation. This is for intent, focus, and manifestation. So this is all about meditation in this section. Again, it's from that coloring book. We have the benefits of meditation. We have a little meditation training thing here. It's kind of a 13-minute day routine. So you can show that you can do meditation every day. Talks about focus. Oops, sorry about that. We have the chakras, and it includes musical correspondences. And we have your sound waves, meta waves, binary waves, and how they affect meditation. We talk about protecting yourself during meditation. We talk about life force, which is your breath. I'm sure there'll be more information in there added. Then I got this off the internet. This is basics of setting up an altar. This is real basic information. And then this is how I set my altars up. And then this talks about magical tool rules, how I keep tools, how I consecrate them, my expectations for tools and such. And then we talk about wands. And then I have a picture of my wand in here. And history of athames. I don't have a picture of my athame yet. Information on singing bowls. I do use singing bowls. And this is the set that I have. This is my set, in fact. This is information about cauldrons. And as I compile more information, and get it in my book, it'll be added. So this is just what's been completed. So then I have a section for spellcasting. And so we have a little review about moon phases again. And this is just something real quick. It's pertained to spellcasting. It's out of a coloring book, so I kind of like that too. And we have an old world phases like that. Days of the week that also came out of the Book of Shadow coloring book. And talks about the zodiac. These are just breakdowns of the big wheel I have. And then I'll have a section on planets. And then I'll have actual spell work. And I do have some spell work here. And then I'll put some candle spells in here. A nice little poem here that I always like. The old witch is busy, a stirring here brew. And unless you watch out, she'll stir you into. Kind of cute. So I got some graphics. I'm going to put some of my spells in. This is about casting circles. And that'll probably change too. That whole circle casting will probably change because I do those different now. And then I have a ritual in here. It's just one of many I have. This is just the one I've transferred to my book. And then I have, I'm going to stop on this page for a minute. This page is the section of Shakespeare's Macbeth with the three witches over the cauldron. It's the double, double, toil, and trouble. It's the actual words of Shakespeare's Macbeth. This is kind of my first touch into the realm of witchy stuff, and it's kind of been my inspiration of me being a witch. It was the start, and there's many layers of it, but this is kind of the starting point that made me so curious about witches. So it's in here, and that starts my herbal section. So, and then I have sage, and this talks all about sage, its uses, its scent profiles, its correspondences. On this page, it talks about the history and folklore of sage. You can see there. And it's an American Indian herb. It wasn't normally used by witches, but a lot of witches have picked them up in their practices, as I have. It also talks about the sacredness of it, the actual American Indian ceremony that's attuned to sage. And it also talks about how native sage is becoming very scarce because it cannot be grown on a farm or in someone's garden. It's harvested over the land and the plains, and it's becoming very scarce because we're using it a lot. So because of this, I've started growing my own sage. Of course, I don't have any mature plants. They're all seedlings right now, but I do plan at some point maturing those plants and harvesting my own sage. And from that point on, I'll just use my own sage instead of buying. Yay! And then it talks about the modern day witch applications of sage and why we should do it. And then I'm going to have an appendix back here, which would be like a little bibliography and any other extra miscellaneous items that, kind of pertain in here. But that's all there is to it. And that is my working book, my working grimoire. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.